Welcome to my channel. This channel empowers leaders, project managers, and teams to thrive in the digital age by integrating emotional intelligence, cutting-edge AI tools, and proven strategies for success.
Have you ever sent an email that seemed perfectly fine, but the response you got made you question everything? There's a science behind why digital communication often fails, and how empathy can be your secret weapon for success. In a world where more than 300 billion emails are sent daily, how often do we stop to think about how they're received? From professionals to everyday users, understanding the hidden dynamics of online communication has never been more critical. Social neuroscience reveals a fascinating truth. When we interact face-to-face, our brains synchronize, creating an unspoken understanding that keeps conversations flowing. But online, it's a completely different story. Social neuroscience studies how our brains interact during communication. Researchers discovered a brain-to-brain bridge that activates in real time, helping us interpret tone, gestures, and facial expressions. This connection is crucial for maintaining harmony. When communicating digitally, this bridge doesn't activate. But males lack the nonverbal cues our brains rely on to gauge intent, tone, and emotion. Ultimately, email communication could lead to the widespread phenomenon of miscommunication online. For example, think of a time you received an email that felt cold or dismissive. It's likely the sender didn't intend it that way. Research shows that people perceive emails as more negative than the sender intended. Our brains are wired for survival, not social harmony. In our evolutionary past, detecting threats, whether a growling predator or a rival's glare, was crucial to staying alive. Fast forward to today, and that same wiring makes us hypersensitive to potential dangers in communication. In ambiguous situations, our minds default to a negative interpretation. In digital communication, negativity bias plays out in subtle yet impactful ways. Without tone of voice, facial expressions, or gestures to clarify intent, our brains often assume the worst. For instance, an employee receiving neutral feedback in an email, "Your work could be more detailed," might interpret it as criticism, even if the sender intended to provide constructive guidance. This misinterpretation can spiral into anxiety, decreased confidence, and even workplace conflict. In a study examining email communication, researchers found that senders often overestimate how positively their tone is perceived. When they believe their message is warm and friendly, recipients rate it as merely neutral. Worse, when senders think their message is neutral, recipients frequently rate it as cold or even hostile. These mismatches can erode trust and collaboration over time. For example, consider a typical work email exchange. A manager sends a concise message, "Thanks for the update." To the sender, this is efficient and polite. However, the recipient, lacking additional cues, might interpret it as dismissive or disapproving. Such scenarios are not just common but avoidable, with a little more mindfulness in how we craft our messages. But what about the recipient? What happened? Emotional hijacking happens when our emotions override logical thinking, a phenomenon rooted in the brain's amygdala. The amygdala is like an alarm system designed to react quickly to perceived threats. In digital communication, these threats could be a critical email, an abrupt message, or even a delayed response. When hijacked, we react impulsively, often making poor decisions. Flaming is a direct result of emotional hijacking. It occurs when someone sends an emotionally charged, often aggressive message, usually in the heat of the moment. These messages are rarely thoughtful and almost always regretted. Flaming is particularly prevalent online because the lack of immediate feedback, like a confused look or a calming tone, allows emotions to escalate unchecked. For example, imagine you receive an email from a colleague questioning your recent project. If you are already feeling stressed, you perceive the email as an attack. You immediately type a sharp reply, defending yourself and pointing out their flaws, and hit send. Hours later, you reread the exchange and realize your reaction was disproportionate, potentially straining your professional relationship. Want to explore more? Flaming arises from two factors: emotional impulsivity and the inherent limitations of digital communication. Without nonverbal cues to provide context, we're left to fill in the blanks, often inaccurately. This leads to heightened emotions and reactive behavior, compounding the original misunderstanding. Overcoming flaming requires developing emotional intelligence. Pausing before responding, practicing mindfulness, and considering the recipient's perspective can help diffuse emotional hijacking before it begins. Hey, remember, your message could make all the difference. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more insights on emotional intelligence and modern communication. Can empathy improve online communication? Empathy is stepping into another person's shoes and understanding their emotions and perspectives. In digital communication, empathy isn't automatic. It takes conscious effort. You have to pause and consider how your words might land on the other person's end of the screen. So, how do you cultivate empathy in digital communications? Before hitting send, take a moment to ask yourself, how might the recipient interpret this message? If there's any chance of misunderstanding, consider rephrasing or adding clarifying context. Hearing your words spoken can help identify unintended tone or phrasing. For example, a sentence like, "I need this ASAP," might sound harsher than you intended. Rewriting it as, "Could you prioritize this when you have a chance?" softens the tone. A simple addition like, "Thanks for your hard work," or "I appreciate your time on this," can transform the overall tone of your email, making it feel supportive rather than demanding. While emojis can help convey tone, like adding a smiley face to lighten a sentence, they can also be seen as unprofessional in certain settings. Use them judiciously to clarify intent without undermining your message. So psychologists have noted that empathetic communication reduces misunderstandings and strengthens relationships. In other words, leaders who practice empathy not only foster trust but also improve team morale and collaboration.